I've just led a pitch to this nice ledge and we have a 2-bolt anchor. Where are you going to find 2-bolt anchors? At the top of all sport climbs. By definition, a sport climb is protected with bolts all the way and has a nice bolt anchor at the top. But you find bolt anchors in lots of other places too. There are mixed routes with a few bolts and a few gear placements and a bolt anchor at the top. And there are even some routes out there where you're protecting the route entirely with gear, but there are bolt anchors at every belay. And in a multi-pitch setting, this facilitates an easy retreat from any point. So there are long multi-pitch routes out there in the mountains that are considered less committing because there are bolt anchors with rings at every pitch. If it's a single pitch sport climb and you're just lowering back to the ground, the quickest and probably the most common solution is simply to take 2 quick draws, 1 to each bolt, or in this case, notice I chose to clip to the bottom ring and the bottom link. These are solid steel links and rings. You will sometimes see super thin aluminum rings which are only for rappelling, but in this case this is super beefy. So rather than clipping to the bolts, I just clip to the bottom links. Everything's nicely equalized. You'll also want to sometimes think about, like for example, if I was going to clip there, I've got the gate in, and that's an issue where it could open, which greatly reduces its strength. So if I was going to clip there, I would want to be sure to clip gate out. But in this case, because they're nicely equalized and it's convenient, I'll just clip to the bottom one. And I'll just make sure that the gates are facing opposite directions. If they're facing the same direction, they might both unclip somehow. So, gates opposite, clip, clip, tension, ready to lower, and I'm out of there. That's the simplest. That's the common sport climbing anchor, especially in single pitch terrain. You're not going to do that in multi-pitch terrain, because in multi-pitch terrain, you're bringing your partner up to you. So you don't just want to clip the rope through the quick draws. You want to build an anchor with a master point. For multi-pitch climbing with bolt anchors, a lot of people carry simply a double-length sling, and that is clipped to the bolts. Pull a V, tie a master point knot, a figure 8 or an overhand. Now you have a master point to which you can tether yourself, which I would simply do with a clove hitch. Lock the carabiner, and now I can call off belay, put my partner on belay, and bring him up. In single pitch terrain, you might use this same anchor instead of 2 quick draws for, well, one obvious reason, if the bolts are really offset. So if you just clip quick draws to the 2 bolts, you're going to end up with your rope running through carabiners that are not at the same height. That might be awkward. With the sling, you can clip to 2 bolts. We can simulate that here. If I clipped way up here and way down there, I can still tie my master point knot such that it ends up nicely equalized right where I want it. So a double-length sling is a nice piece of material to have. If I was using this instead of simply 2 quick draws for a single pitch climb and I'm planning to lower off and then top rope off the anchor potentially, there are a few ways to build your master point. The one I see people doing most commonly, which is great, is 2 locking carabiners. I just clipped that one way. I'm going to clip this the other way. And so they are opposite, right? I clipped one that way and one that way. And then I want to rotate them so they're opposed. Now, if this is going to be rubbing against the rock, there is a possibility that it could lock really hard to where it takes a wrench to get it open again. So sometimes you'll clip them opposite, but not opposed, like so the gates are out. Either way, 2 lockers is a great way to make your master point. Make sure you lock them. A lot of people will use non-lockers here. When I do that, I like to use 3 of them. Some people say 2 non-lockers is fine, and I wouldn't disagree, but I persist in using 3. Makes me feel good. It also makes a wider shelf for the rope to run through. So this is what that would look like. Clip that one that way, so I'm clipping the next one this way and that way. And see how That makes a nice wide shelf for the rope to run through. It's putting less of a bend in the rope and it's going to run really smoothly. The third piece of equipment that I'll often use on 2-bolt anchors is the same piece of equipment that I use when I'm building gear anchors, and that's one of the main reasons I use it. It's my primary anchoring tool. I always have it with me. Some people don't carry, and that's the Cordelette. Some people don't carry a Cordelette because it's heavy and bulky, and I understand that. But as you get a little further in your climbing practice and you start learning self-rescue techniques, different ways of solving problems up there, you'll find that a Cordelette's really handy to have. And it's versatile. You can use this for equalizing 3 pieces of gear into a big old traditional anchor. And you can also use it in sport climbing or when you come to a 2-bolt anchor. Notice this is a huge amount of material. If I use this singly, it's going to put my master point somewhere way down below the anchor. So the first thing I'm doing is making a doubled loop. Now I'm clipping to both of my points, using that sawing motion to get the knot out of the way, and tying a master point knot, a figure 8 or an overhand. And again, I can make that master point. If I'm going to be top roping people and I want the rope to run nice and smooth, I'm going to use 3 ovals. And in my guiding, I use steel ovals, which weigh about 5 times as much as an aluminum carabiner. You probably aren't going to use those unless you're guiding, but I wear out aluminum carabiners super fast, so I carry the stainless steel even though it's heavy. So, 3 different ways to build a simple anchor on 2 bolts. Quick draws, a double-length sling, or the Cordelette, which a lot of people don't carry, but super versatile. I use it for a lot of different things, so I always have it with me.